Just imagine you're alone on a 40-foot catamaran in the middle of the ocean. The person you trust most in the world, your husband of just 3 months, handed you control of the boat for the night watch. You've never done this before. No life jacket, no emergency beacon, no training. Then, silence. By morning, Isabella Hellmann would be gone forever. Her husband, Bennett, would be found floating in a life raft, rescued by the Coast Guard. But in that life raft, investigators would discover something that would turn this apparent tragedy into one of the most chilling maritime mysteries in recent history. The distress call came in at exactly 1 a.m. on May 15, 2017. Bennett was located approximately 26 nautical miles west of Cat Cay Bank in the Bahamas. It took the Coast Guard nearly 3 hours to reach him. He wasn't rescued until almost 4 a.m. What they found wasn't just survival gear. They found 100 worth of stolen silver coins. The coins were contained in 9 plastic tubes wrapped with clear tape. 235 collectible silver coins, worth approximately $4,200 in the raft alone. Investigators later found 162 additional coins in their Delray Beach condo and $220,000 in cash in Isabella's car proceeds from coins already sold. Think about that for a moment. Your wife has vanished into the ocean and you're clutching stolen treasure. I'm going to be honest with you, as I researched this case, I felt sick to my stomach. Because the more you dig, the more horrifying it becomes. Before we dive into this rabbit hole, let me ask you something that kept me up at night while preparing this. If your spouse disappeared at sea, what would be your first instinct? Would you load stolen coins onto a life raft, wait 45 minutes before calling for help? Or would you tear that ocean apart looking for them? Bennett waited 45 minutes before calling for help. During those 45 minutes, Bennett claims he gathered his personal belongings into the life raft. When Coast Guard rescue swimmers winched him into the helicopter, they noticed his backpack was unusually heavy. 45 minutes. That's 3 episodes of your favorite TV show. That's how long it takes to cook a decent meal. Here's what haunts me. In those 45 minutes, Isabella could have been saved. Coast Guard statistics show that every minute matters in a man overboard situation. Every single minute. So questions that demand answers, I think, is why did an experienced sailor fail to follow basic safety protocols? Bennett made no attempt to locate the source of flooding or stop the water from entering the boat. He fired no flares to illuminate the area, never called out to Isabella across the water, and didn't search the surrounding area. Once in the life raft, he immediately cut the line tethering it to the boat. How does a boat accidentally hit something when no obstacles were found in the area? Why were escape hatches opened below the waterline? And most chilling of all, why does a grieving husband prioritize stolen coins over his wife's life? But to understand how we got here, we need to go back to the beginning, to a love story that turned into a nightmare. Isabella Hellmann was living the American dream. Born in Cuba, she'd built a successful career as a real estate broker in Delray Beach, Florida. At 41, she was a new mother to baby Emilia, just 9 months old. Picture your own life for a moment. You worked hard, built a career, you have a beautiful baby, Then you meet someone who promises you adventure, travel, a perfect life on the water. That someone was Louis Bennett, a 41-year-old professional sailor with dual citizenship in Australia and the UK. Charming, experienced, worldly, the kind of man who could navigate the seven seas with his eyes closed. They married quickly, whirlwind, romance style. Just 3 months later, they were setting off on their delayed honeymoon, the Caribbean paradise. That morning, Isabella had called her sister using their satellite phone from Varadero, Cuba. She was excited about returning home to reunite with baby Emilia. They had departed Cuba at 5:30 p.m., with Bennett setting the autopilot on a course toward either Key West or Fort Lauderdale. The red flags we missed, but here's what Isabella didn't know, what makes my blood run cold when I think about it. Bennett had a 2011 conviction for domestic violence. His ex-wife later came forward with horrifying allegations of abuse, claiming he dragged her from a truck and threatened to kill her. This wasn't just a bad breakup. This was a pattern, and there's something else that breaks my heart. Isabella was trusting. She was inexperienced at sea. She relied on Louis completely for their safety. She didn't know that the man she'd married had already stolen 100 worth of coins from a previous employer. The coins were stolen from the yacht Kitty R based in St. Martin, where Bennett had worked as crew member. He had filed a false police report claiming the boat was burglarized while the owner was away. The coins were part of a $100,000 collection. Imagine being in her position. You're a new mother. You trust your husband completely, and you're heading into the vast ocean with someone who's already planning. But what happened next will make you question everything you thought you knew about love, trust, and the darkness that can hide behind a charming smile. May 14th, 2017. The couple leaves Cuba, heading for Florida. It should have been a beautiful final leg of their honeymoon. Instead, it became the last night of Isabella's life. Here's what Louis Bennett claims happened. He puts Isabella on night watch around 8 p.m. Remember, she's inexperienced, has no emergency training, and critically, no life jacket, no personal locator beacon. Critically, Bennett had only activated his satellite phone and registered his personal locator beacon when they reached Cuba midway through their voyage. Maritime experts say these life-saving devices should have been activated from the beginning of any transoceanic journey. This alone should terrify any experienced sailor. He goes to sleep. Around 1 a.m. he's awakened by a crash. He goes topside. Isabella's gone. The boat is sinking. But here's where his story falls apart completely, and where I started to feel genuinely disturbed. The evidence that doesn't lie. 1. The Coast Guard searched the entire area, no obstacles, no debris, nothing to hit. 2. Forensic experts examined the catamaran. Damage was inflicted from inside the boat. Forensic analysis revealed 2 holes in nearly identical positions on both hulls. The spray pattern of debris faced outward, indicating the holes were punched from inside the vessel. Maritime experts noted the holes were too neat, with no scraping or impact marks you'd expect from hitting an object. 3. The escape hatches expert testimony proved the catamaran was intentionally scuttled. These are hatches below the waterline that should never be opened while sailing. Coast Guard personnel examining the wreckage photographs confirmed both escape hatches had been deliberately opened. As one expert testified, once you open the hatch, you pretty much have declared your intentions and prevented the boat from being saved. Opening them would flood the boat. Let me put this in perspective. Imagine if someone claimed their house burned down accidentally, but investigators found gasoline poured throughout the rooms and match burns on the floor. That's exactly what happened here. Bennett loaded provisions and stolen silver coins onto a life raft before calling for help. While his wife was somewhere in the dark ocean dying, he was carefully selecting which stolen coins to save. I have to stop here for a moment because this is where I, as a human being, start to feel rage. If that was my spouse, my sister, my daughter, I would have jumped into that ocean. I would have searched until I drowned myself. But Louis Bennett, he counted coins. What really happened that night? The questions that will haunt us forever. Did Isabella discover the stolen coins? Did she threaten to report him? Or was this always the plan of perfect crime disguised as a tragic accident? The FBI knew something was wrong from day one. When someone refuses to cooperate in their own spouse's disappearance, that's not grief, that's guilt. Bennett refused formal interviews. He wouldn't let them search their apartment. His constitutional right. Absolutely. But when your wife is missing, when her family is desperate for answers, what innocent person lawyers up immediately? I've covered enough cases to know that innocent people want to help. They want to find answers. They don't hide behind attorneys when their loved one is missing. The breakthrough. The case cracked when forensic experts proved the boat was deliberately sunk. Expert witnesses testified that someone had intentionally damaged each vessel's hull from the inside. This wasn't an accident. This was murder. In February 2018, Louis Bennett was arrested and charged with second-degree murder. Finally, it seemed like justice was coming for Isabella. Just days after Isabella's disappearance, on May 19th, Bennett requested a letter of presumed death from the Coast Guard. When they refused, he booked one-way tickets to the UK for himself and Amelia. He also filed in probate court for Isabella's death certificate after only 5 months. Florida law typically requires 5 years. But then came the legal reality that breaks my heart. The no body problem. Proving murder without a body is nearly impossible. The prosecution had circumstantial evidence, but in a court of law that might not be enough. And Bennett's lawyers knew it. This is where the system fails families like Isabella's, where legal technicalities matter more than obvious truth, where a killer can literally throw away the evidence in the deepest part of the ocean. November 2018. In what can only be described as a devastating compromise, Louis Bennett pleaded guilty to involuntary manslaughter. Not murder, manslaughter. He admitted to killing Isabella but claimed it was negligent, not intentional. The prosecutors, fearing a complete acquittal in a no-body case, accepted the deal. On May 28, 2019, Bennett was sentenced to 8 years in prison, the maximum for manslaughter. 8 years for destroying a family, for taking a mother away from her baby, for the calculated murder of an innocent woman. As I write this, I'm thinking about Isabella's baby daughter, Emilia. She was 9 months old when her mother vanished. She's now 7 years old, living with Bennett's parents in Scotland, while Isabella's family fights desperately for visitation rights. The custody battle was contentious from the start. During the exchange, when Bennett collected Emilia, Isabella's family accused him directly of murder. The confrontation was monitored by Boca Raton police, with Isabella's family pleading for him to confess. The continuing tragedy. After 2 years, Isabella's family finally got to see their granddaughter, but the battle continues. This little girl is growing up without knowing her mother's family, without knowing the truth about what happened that night. When I imagine Isabella's parents, her siblings, I feel this crushing weight. They know their daughter was murdered. They know Bennett is guilty. But they can't get justice and they can't get their granddaughter back. So what really happened on the night of May 14th, 2017? We'll never know the exact sequence of events. Bennett took those secrets with him to prison. But here's what we do know. Isabella Hellmann was murdered by her husband. The boat was deliberately sunk to cover up the crime. A baby girl lost her mother. A family was destroyed. And a killer got away with 8 years instead of life. The human cost. Every time I think about this case, I come back to the same haunting image. Isabella, alone on that boat, trusting the man who was about to kill her. She was doing what he asked, taking the night watch, being the good wife, the loving partner. And he betrayed that trust in the most evil way possible. The stolen coins tell us this was premeditated. The deliberately opened escape hatches tell us this was calculated. The 45-minute delay tells us he wanted her to die. What this case teaches us: trust your instincts about people. Know the warning signs of domestic violence. Understand that evil can hide behind charm and experience. And never ever trust someone who puts money before human life. Isabella Hellmann should be 47 years old today. She should be watching her daughter grow up, building her real estate career, living the life she worked so hard to create. Instead, she's a name on a missing persons report, a cold case file, a tragedy that could have been prevented if someone had listened to the red flags. As I finish this investigation, I want to leave you with this thought. Isabella's story isn't just about one woman's tragic death. It's about the evil that can hide in plain sight. It's about the importance of protecting the vulnerable. It's about the responsibility we all have to speak up when we see warning signs. The fight continues. Isabella's family hasn't given up. They are still fighting for their granddaughter, still seeking the full truth about what happened that night. Because love doesn't end with death, and neither does the pursuit of justice. Isabella Hellmann deserved better. She deserved to live. She deserved to raise her daughter. She deserved a husband who would protect her, not destroy her. But she also deserves to be remembered not as a victim, but as a woman who lived, loved, and dreamed. A woman whose story reminds us that evil can strike anywhere, even in paradise. And maybe, just maybe, her story will save someone else from the same fate. The ocean may have claimed Isabella Hellmann's body, but her memory lives on in the hearts of those who loved her, and in the ongoing fight for justice that continues today.